In this video, we are discussing the 4 project life cycle: predictive, iterative, incremental and adaptive. So let's understand them by the way of plotting some diagrams about these 4 life cycle. We start with the predictive life cycle. So in a predictive life cycle, as the name indicates, we know how we have to work on, and that's why we follow sequence of phases, and each phase is focusing on one type of work, and finally it produces deliverable towards the end. So a life cycle where we can predict requirement, design of a given product in advance is a predictive way of doing it. We are not coming back and changing anything. There could be a minor changes sometimes if they occur, but in general the life cycle is quite predictable. We can know what do we want, that the technology is also proven, the estimation techniques are also matured, we know where we are heading to, and that is why we can follow the sequence. So this way of doing is, we can say, is predictive. Now comes iterative. In case of iterative, we do follow these steps and produce some demoable, learnable component. So it could be a prototype which we produce here because we don't know exactly what is needed. So we work on, maybe initial requirement analysis is done a little bit in detail, but we don't know exactly what we are making. So we want to learn by making some prototypes in between. It is like a testing thing. So this is like cooking the full meal and finally eating it. This is like cooking, and especially when you are cooking a new meal, you are cooking in between and you are taking taste in between. So it's like you create these kind of learning opportunity multiple times in your product life cycle, and this is how you keep changing it, and finally by doing such kind of iterations you move to a final product. So in both the life cycles, the final product is only coming towards the end. Only in the end you can have something which you can use, consume. But in case of a predictive life cycle, you don't get even clue of what is going to be made because things are always in a design, in a documentation stage. In case of iterative life cycle, in between also you can see some prototypes, get a look and feel of it, so that you can learn about that particular product and provide a feedback, and these feedbacks are creating change here. So each demo thing is primarily triggering the change, so we finally reach to the right product. In this particular sequence, there is no change, we know what we have to do, and finally we will produce an output. So this way of doing is we call it iterative. Now there is a third thing which is called incremental. You can think of incremental is that we do have a predictability of what we want to make, but rather than making the whole product in a one go, we make it part by part. So it's like, I know what I have to build, I will run all the phases and I will produce part of it. Then I will run another phases and I will produce the another part of it or extended part of it. And this is how I will create the whole product at the end. Now the things is, the parts which are produced in between are not primarily meant for changes. We don't expect the part produced here is getting changed here. That is the difference between iterative and incremental. Incremental, we are doing delivery in increments, but it is not that same code, same work will get changed later. In case of iterative development, we are not giving increment. We are showing things and they are roughly made things, and then we are changing them before it get ready. So this is like a combo meal, everything comes in a one go. This is like you are making some new dish, you are taking taste in between and changing the direction, and this is like you want to cook 10 things, but you are cooking one by one. You cook one, you give the starters, people eat it, then you cook the main course, you give it, then you cook the desserts and give it. So it's not like that after they eating a part of it, they come back and they change it. It's like rather than giving the whole meal in a one go, we are giving an incremental meals to the customers so they can get value faster. But there is no that I will give a soup and modify it in the next delivery. It's not like changes are not coming here, and that's what the pure incremental it. Now comes the agile, or many of us we call it adaptive. Adaptive is, we can say, a mix of these two. Simple. If we can make things iterative and incremental, means at a frequency I do produce something, so I do produce something at a frequency by doing all the steps, but the same thing can be also changed. So rather than giving a prototype demo thing which is not consumable, I am giving something which can even consumed. But I am also open, my process is also open to change it if it is needed. So I am mixing the characteristics of iterative and incremental and creating a continuous delivery of my product, which I am also adapting as I am moving forward. And that is what we call it adaptive life cycle. You can see that adaptive life cycle is also done in two ways. One is that you run fixed duration iterations and you produce these things at a fixed defined time frame, or it could be a Kanban based or a flow based or a lean based approach where these durations are not fixed, means they may vary in their sizes. Based on how the values are flowing, how the features are flowing, we will keep producing it for and taking the feedback and keep delivering it to our end customers. So this is how we can think of predictive, iterative, incremental and adaptive life cycle. I understand we have covered this in the Agile Mindset Collection video as well. You might have seen them before, but this is how we wanted to recap it since it's a part of PMI Agile Practice Guide.